Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Katie Snow, and today we are making beetroot crepes. This is a fun recipe. It's a nice spin on regular crepes. We're making these gluten-free and also making them paleo. And then we're adding the beetroot powder in just to make them a fun color. And we're going to show you some additional ways that you can serve these, and they are delicious. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you the ingredients that it takes to make these delicious beetroot crepes. So, because they are paleo, we are using a super fine almond flour. So there are different types of almond flours in the store. Some of them are a finer and they're easier to make recipes that can stick together better, like a crepe. We don't want it falling apart. And then there are other almond flours that they're not quite as fine, and so they're fine for some recipes that don't require it to really be able to stick together good. So I found this at Costco, and it's really good. I've used it in a few other recipes. And then we're using, this is tapioca flour. And so in this recipe, tapioca flour is a very fine, almost the consistency of like baby powder. It's a very fine flour, but it also has a good flavor and it'll add a good texture to the crepes. We're using pink sea salt. Remember, our sea salt needs to be pink or gray. We're making sure we're getting minerals into our recipes, and it also has a really good flavor. And then of course, our main ingredient is the red beet power. So this is a 100% fermented organic beetroot powder. And again, we can get circulation issues and energy and endurance when we're exercising. And so this is a great addition to a lot of recipes. And when we can get more beets in our diet, we want to have those things. We want to have more endurance and exercise. We want to have more energy. And so adding this ingredient to recipes or just mixing it in water and drinking it daily can help us get those benefits. And then we're using 2 tablespoons of almond milk. If you haven't checked out our almond milk, homemade almond milk recipe, make sure you check out that video. And that's the milk that we're using here. It's 2 tablespoons. And then we are using 5 eggs. And we're using the whole egg, the yolk and the white. And then we have the oil that we're using is an avocado oil. Got this at Costco. Chosen Foods is the brand, and they make a very clean avocado oil. And I use this for most everything that I make in the kitchen. Sometimes I'll use MCT oil, but most of the time I use avocado oil. It's a high heat oil, so it takes a high temperature well, but I'll also use it to make salad dressing. So it's just a very versatile oil. And so there's 1 tablespoon that I'm going to put in the recipe, and then 1 that we're going to use when we're making our crepes here on the stovetop in our omelet pan. So let's go ahead and get started. You will need a blender for this recipe. I'm using a Blendtec blender. That's my favorite blender. It's a very nice high-powered blender. Works really well to blend things quick and to blend them well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I do want to give 1 tip is to put all of the things in the blender. Start with your liquids first. So I'm going to put the eggs and the milk and the 1 tablespoon of oil in there, and that way you don't get the powder at the bottom that you're having to use a spatula to get out. So and 1 tip on eggs. Notice how the eggs in here, if you can see them, I'll show you in my blender. They're a nice orange color. So the eggs that we use, we do have chickens, but I do buy eggs at the store, but that shows you that those are healthy eggs. If your yolk is a very light color, it does not have the nutrition that it needs. And so I'll show you the box over here. This is the one that I buy at the store. It's Vital Farms. It's a little bit more, but you know what? You pay a little bit more for good quality ingredients that are full of nutrition. And if you want to be healthy, your ingredients have to be a step up. They have to have more nutrition in them. So just a word on eggs and how important it is to buy quality eggs. Or if you want to have your own chickens, It is a little bit of a chore, but it's nice to have fresh eggs anytime that you need them. Okay, so I have 5 whole eggs in the blender, and then I have 2 tablespoons of almond milk. And you can use, there's other milks that you can use, that's the one I'm using today. And then we have 1 tablespoon of the avocado oil. So again, our liquids are on the bottom, that's gonna make it easier to mix everything. And then we're gonna put just about 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. And then we have our super fine almond flour. It's 1/2 cup on the almond flour. So put that on top. And the tapioca flour. So we have 1/3 cup of the tapioca flour. And again, that one's a little messy because it's a very fine flour. But it's also going to help our crepes stick together well. Okay, and then last but not least, and you can put as much of the beetroot powder that you would like. I am putting 2 scoops. Each scoop is about a teaspoon. You can put more if you want your crepes to be a little bit darker. Okay, and then we're just going to blend. Okay, so I just did 30 seconds. Don't want to over blend this so that the crepes aren't a little tough. Remember we have eggs in there, so 30 seconds. And then I'm just actually going to pour straight from the blender carafe straight into my pot. So I'm going to use the avocado oil that I saved to the side. I have a tablespoon, but I'm just going to put a little bit, maybe, you know, 1/6 of that. So I'm going to be making about 6 crepes with our recipe, and so that way I have enough in between each one. Spread nice. And then I do want to say a word about the pan that I'm using. So when it comes to crepes, there are people that actually have a crepe maker. It's a rather large platform that you plug in and the whole thing gets hot. It's really big. Finding space for that in the kitchen is a chore. But for people that make crepes often, they use this. I'm using a ceramic pan. So this is a new ceramic pan that I actually got from Marshall's. It's about $10, but there's no sticking with the crepes. We don't have time for sticking. And so having a very slick surface is key to making crepes. And then with the ceramic pan, we don't want to use anything metal. And even wood utensils are a little harsh on the ceramic pan. So I picked this up at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's a KitchenAid, but nice and wide so I can get under the crepe and flip it. But I'll show you that in just a minute. I have my heat on closer to simmer, and I do have a propane stove, so you just have to adjust it for this type of stovetop that you have. But I do have it about the temperature that I want it. And again, it's a little above simmer, so between simmer and medium. But you do want to make sure the temperature is right. These crepes, once you pour them into the middle, you want to quickly swirl around, and so that it makes a very thin layer. So that's going to be key, is to be quick once the pan's heated up and your batter is ready. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. And again, I'm just going to pour right in the middle, and then I'll show you how I'll work it around really quick. Very quick process. And that's okay if there's a few strings around it, because we can pull those off or cut them off before serving. But the key is to have a very thin layer in the pan. And then it's about a minute, kind of like pancakes. You'll see the little bubbles coming up in the pan. And then you'll know it's okay to flip it at that point. And again, it's okay if it strings a little bit, we can pull those off, but you'll see whenever it's time, the little edges kind of flip up just a little bit on the crepe. Okay, and so you can see when it's ready, you're able to slide your spatula under there and the whole thing is moving at that point. So I'll pick it up so you can see me flip it. So I have this nice spatula where I'm able to get under the crepe and flip it. It's pretty easy. This one's nice and thin. That's what we're going for. Okay, so we have beautiful beetroot crepe. I'm going to place it on the plate. And then this recipe does make about 6, so I'm not going to keep making them. I want to show you one that's complete. Has a nice thinness to it, easy to roll up. And so there's a number of things that you can do with this crepe for serving. So let me go ahead and show you some of those right now. Okay, so for serving suggestions, this is one that we like a lot. It complements the beetroot crepe quite a bit. So again, we have our crepe. On the side that it cooked longer, it's a little bit lighter pink. So you can use whichever side, they're the same. And you can find this recipe on our YouTube channel. This is the Turmeric Tuna Salad. It's a delicious recipe and it works really well, and it complements the beetroot crepe. So you'll just need about a tablespoon that you'll line, maybe a little bit more. And it has a nice, has some herbs in it. It has carrots, celery, lemon juice, mustard, mayonnaise, so a really good flavor to it. And then you can just break some pieces of lettuce and put on there. And then I think an avocado is really good complimentary for this as well. So I went ahead and pre-sliced this avocado, and you can just put a few slices on top, and there you go. If you want to do a little more seasoning, although I did season the turmeric tuna salad quite a bit, but you can put a little bit on top, and then you'll just roll it up and it's ready to eat. So hope you enjoyed this recipe and you enjoyed making this for your family. If you are going to make this recipe and you are going to make 6 and food prep for the week, just make sure that you use parchment paper between each crepe when you're sliding it into a Ziploc bag, because in the refrigerator it can become sticky on each other and then you'll have a hard time separating them. So just make sure that you use parchment paper when you're storing these. If you're gonna have it on a Saturday morning, just enjoy them all right then and there. Again, this makes 6 crepes and you can store them for later, and they're good for about a week in the refrigerator. So hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you did, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share with a friend or family member. Here's to transforming your health naturally. I'm Dr. Katie Snow. See you next time. Bye-bye.